It's Monday morning and we're welcoming you here on Breakfast Central. It feels really good to be back. And indeed, we could say it was maybe a bittersweet weekend. Sad stories coming from some parts of Nigeria. But of course, good stories as well coming out from some parts of Nigeria. But I'm going to say welcome. I am Joe Hansen.
And I am Olive Emodi. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. Between a plunge, between the trade wars, the tariff wars, as well as the increase in oil production, we're seeing a plunge in oil prices. And we're going to be having a conversation here in Nigeria about what this means for us and how we can better brace ourselves. You're welcome to the show.
And I'm Benga Abure. Welcome to Breakfast Central. Quite a lot happened over the weekend, and last week was very eventful in Nigeria. Let's hope this week brings good tidings. You're welcome to the program.
How's your weekend?
Restful.
Yours was restful?
Yes.
Maybe I was one who didn't catch enough sleep this weekend.
Oh, but so sorry. Actually, I feel like mine was a bit restful as well.
Okay.
So
sorry. Anyway, let's see how.
Do you know who else did not have a restful weekend?
Who's that?
The likes of Valentine Ozigbo, you know,
Dave Umahi.
And the people that are in detention as a result of the former First Lady Patience Jonathan.
And let's talk about that.
Yeah. Very interesting story. So now the reports have it that about 15 people have been in detention because they were alleged to have robbed, quote unquote, the former First Lady of Nigeria, Patience Jonathan. And now these are some of the pictures, and the stories are really horrifying. The conversation is that they have been in detention since 2019 and have been charged to court, but there have been several detentions, several adjournments of their case. And now bodies are crying, civil society organizations are crying, even the family members of the people that have been detained are asking for fairness. Now, one of the most heart-wrenching stories I read was one of a 78-year-old woman who has a daughter in detention. Her daughter is 57. Her daughter was detained, and I think her name is Deborah Erema. I will double-check that. Her daughter was detained, and whilst in detention, her first granddaughter died. That's the woman, the 57-year-old woman's first child, died whilst in detention. And now her last child, who's 16, just graduated, finished from secondary school, and yet her mother hasn't gotten to see her. And the 78-year-old woman is saying, look, allow her. She didn't steal, give them their day in court or whatever, but that the fact that she, as a 78-year-old woman, has her child still in detention, it's basically taking a toll on her. She's not able to feed her, she's begging, and sometimes she has to be the one to send food and money to her daughter in prison. And it's just a really heart-wrenching story.
Very heart-wrenching, to say the least. And I'm wondering why it took this long, but like they say, it's never too late to right or wrong. And it also highlights, beyond Patience Jonathan, because a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, it's Patience Jonathan that is keeping them there up till now. I'm sure she might have even forgotten about this incident.
You think?
It also talks about our criminal justice system, regardless of how influential someone is. And we've seen this play out just recently. We saw the Grammy Award-winning artist locked up someone. We've seen the Afe Babalola case. The judiciary, the justice should be blind. It shouldn't look at personalities. But we've seen a case in Nigeria where so many cases where big men or big personalities can use their influence to force the law enforcement agents to hold people even longer than the required time that the law permits, and also use judicial tactics like adjournment and all of that to just keep them in detention.
Now, in case you're wondering what it is that they were accused of stealing, we have here that they were accused of stealing 7 gold bangles and jewelry, 5 Samsung air conditioners, 2 sets of upholstery chairs, and 6 Samsung flat screen televisions valued at 200 million naira. They were also slammed with 18 counts bordering on conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit felony to wit, armed robbery, conspiracy to commit felony to wit, burglary and stealing, among others. These are some of the charges against them. Now, the question is, why have they been kept in detention since 2019 and we're now in 2025? Some of the people involved would say, exactly. Some people involved are saying that the reason, like Benga mentioned, is because there's an influential figure that has delayed this. Now, beyond Patience Jonathan, there are a number of people who are in court, who have been in court, who haven't yet to face trial. They're yet to take a plea, because of the unfortunate miscarriage of justice, the gaps in our justice system. But the question is, because this involves the former First Lady of Nigeria, you should assume, or you would think, that they would know better. And the thing is, Nobody is saying that if you suspect that someone has stolen from you, you shouldn't report to law enforcement. By all means, you're well within your right to report to law enforcement, who will do their due diligence, make arrests where necessary, and bring before a court of competent jurisdiction. And there's a time duration for that. The time duration is definitely not 6 years. This is a miscarriage of justice on all fronts.
We seem to have we have a problem that is starting to grow, and it's going to, if care is not taken, it's going to envelop everyone, and it's going to swallow us as a people and as a nation. I think the judiciary has come under fire so far, so good as far as I can remember. It has never been this bad, where the judiciary continues to be in the bad light. I do recall the CJN who spoke just a few weeks ago. She was like, listen, the lawyers, those who are, you know, at the forefront to enhance and ensure that the laws are upheld, the rule of law, they need to step up. They need to, you know, follow the right etiquettes and do the right thing. But then again, you start asking, who are those? Who are the people that continue to ensure that the judiciary doesn't stand? Fingers have been pointed to the executive. Fingers have been pointed to those who have power. I mean, I can put myself in the shoes of what just happened now. I mean, I'm sure you're aware, as my colleagues recently, where
and
you know, there was a theft.
There,
you know, my car was stolen, and it was stolen right inside my compound. And the first culprit definitely was the security guard. And of course, like you just mentioned, you do the usual thing. You report to the, you know, security forces. He was picked up, taken for interrogation. A few other persons were invited, and so on. Now, there were cases or, you know, avenue for one to say, you know what, lock him up, let him stay there for as long as possible. But then again, being a journalist, also being one who speaks about these things, you know, sitting with the police officers, the investigators who were carrying out their duty, it was made clear that, listen, you cannot detain someone for more than 48 hours. And therefore, it's either you charge him to court. Now, that is a different kettle of a fish I wouldn't want to discuss here. But the point is, if you're reminded, and you yourself should know what the law says and uphold it. So I was expecting that by now, maybe hopefully, the former president's wife will come out with a statement through her PA or SA, special advisor in quotes, to talk about what has been done and what will be done.
Because her name is out there in the public, and she wouldn't like this sort of
I don't think the former president would want to be associated with this, because he's been doing well since he left office in terms of representing, you know, the African body at elections, you know, always going around speaking
goodwill ambassador,
you know, goodwill ambassador, upholding the goodwill or the tenets of, you know, representing Africa. I never believe
there's
that.
so many. So another thing is, what would be justice in this case for these detainees? Because a number of them have lost loved ones, lost milestones. In fact, there's one of them who reported a certain Gladys Achese, she's a sister of one of the detainees, Tamuno Siki, revealed that her sister's husband divorced her as a result of this, because, I mean, I can't be married to somebody that,
I mean, you're
for a
not
number
around.
of people, you're not around, I'm as good as unmarried. So,
you know,
what will be justice for them? I guess in the coming days and weeks, we will further explore the developments.
In other countries, they could also, at the same point, you know, come together and also sue.
Yes.
They would sue.
Because if you don't have tangible evidence to say that.
And then bring in the human rights, you know, and then say, okay, come.
CSOs and all
of that. Let's sue. And I wonder what the CSOs are doing. But, I mean, shout out to the Nigerian Bar Association, who decided to take up the case and ensure that they get speedy solution to this. Hopefully, it works. But away from that, let's also look at a very interesting wake-up conversation that also took place. If you're wondering what's happening in Rivers State, I must say that you need not worry too much. Of course, we do know that there is a sole administrator who is ready to pass a budget, and he has also spoken tough about how he's going to implement the budget in different parts of the state to ensure that governance is felt, especially in democracy. Well, while many are asking questions about why he's going to do that, he is not an elected, you know, governor. The House of Assembly, who were equally suspended, members of the House of Assembly were equally suspended, have decided not to just sit back and wait for the sole administrator to finish his 6-month term before he calls them back to office.
They are very proactive.
They have decided to be proactive. And you can see them there on the screen. What have they done? They've taken a trip to the UK to ensure that they understand more fully what their duties are by learning from the international community, of course, led by that man there, Martin Zamaule, helping the members to see how they can better govern rivers when they return. Now, this looks like some expedition. Looks like some, very wonderful,
a wonderful time to visit the United
enjoyment.
Kingdom.
I mean, the skins are popping.
And I'm just really jealous of them. I would rather be there with them to learning about legislative duties. It's spring, the flowers are blooming. It's such a great time to visit the United Kingdom.
Smiling. So, I've never seen them smile like this in River State.
My dear, when you are in a nice environment where nice weather is touching your skin, you are seeing spring, flowers blooming, and everything.
Why did they have to go all the way to the UK to learn about legislative?
They are well within.
Why not come to Lagos, the center of excellence? Oh, maybe because of the Miranda and Obasa fight. Because before then, the Lagos State House Assembly was excellent. They could learn from the best.
Wisdom will not finish.
But Obasa and Miranda have spotted, so therefore they have to go to
the UK.
Or next time they should go to Jigawa State House of Assembly. It's very peaceful.
Your analysis.
And
sometimes.
Again, as an investigative journalist, please, where did they get the money from?
Speaking about where they got the money from, it's a very valid question to ask. We do know that it is from what we're seeing, River State's budget that is being executed by the sole administrator does not in any way cover this kind of trip. As a matter of fact, this is not the first trip. I think this will be the third trip that they are making that is from their own personal pocket.
Yes.
But I'm going to read...
Personal pocket, wasn't their salary seized?
Well, they are very frugal. They've been saving their money in anticipation of this chaos. Stringent.
Yes. Anything people say, I say yes.
Well, these lawmakers, in a statement signed by Amewule's assistant on media, Martins Wachukwu, confirmed that the lawmakers, of course, had left the country on Friday, and they said that it would afford them the opportunity to learn new things. But I'm looking for an excerpt. It's a 5-day tour. There was something they said. They were thanking the people. All right, great. Amewule extended the appreciation of the House to Rivers people for their confidence in the House and their continued support. And he said, in this regard, the House used the opportunity of the opening ceremony to express immense gratitude to the political leader of River State, Nyesom Wike, and other political leaders under the umbrella of the River State Elders Council who have continued to stand by them through thick and thin. The 10th Assembly members prayed for an abundance of blessings upon their lives and endeavors. So this is a special shout out to Nyesom Wike for standing by the 10th Assembly. I don't know. I can't say if it's the one that...
Standing by, maybe financially standing by.
Exactly.
Also stand
We don't know.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
They should enjoy their trip in London, and I'm sure they will also learn a little bit about peacemaking. Hopefully, they will stop locking their doors when people come to present budgets.
But the thing is also, did they go there in their capacity as lawmakers? Because remember when Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan went as well to IPU, and they were like, oh, she shouldn't have gone there. In what capacity is she going there as? Because she had been suspended. They are all suspended lawmakers. So are they going there their capacity as lawmakers?
Suspended honorably.
Have you guys just brought something out? That, have you noticed that in Nigeria now, we have democratically elected officials who are now suspended? There are plenty.
Democratically elected, suspended honorable
lawmakers. I think we need to ensure that we balance this.
I mean, you have to call it the way it is.
Democratically elected, suspended lawmakers. And they are still functioning in one way or the other by letting you who democratize and you put them in office that, listen, like they just said, we're still working for you, even though we're
you
not
can suspend us, but like they say, I do mind it's the devil's playground. So we don't want to be the devil's playground, so we have to be active.
I also want to ask again, when they went to the UK, did they look at the people? Do they like the way the country looks like? The air they breathe.
Of course, you can see
the
them
quality
smiles.
of life and so on. And would they be willing to come and replicate it in River State?
In terms of, that's why they are going there, to be honest. They're going there to learn
best practices,
so that they can bring back, exactly, that's the phrase, to bring back global best practices in legislation to Nigeria to ensure that we have, better government. So kudos to the suspended Rivers lawmakers. We hope that they enjoy their tour, their holiday, and that this affords them a great learning opportunity for when they are potentially returned into office or not. Whichever way, knowledge is never lost.
It's kind of sad that they won't have money for shopping. They will only just go for that.
Who told you? Are
They've suspended
are you in their bank account?
their salaries for how many months?
It doesn't
How
matter.
do you want them to go?
The people of Rivers are standing by them. You can't assume.
Yes, I'm political.
Please, don't be.
I'm political elders.
Exactly.
Our final wake-up conversation story. I mean, this came as a shocker to many, as it's a two-way street. You know, NYSC is proposing to extend service year by another year, so they'll make it 2 years in order to curb unemployment. What do you guys make of this?
2 years. Okay. Hold on. Let me get my calculator out. I'm coming. Let me ensure that I get this right.
So
77,000 naira.
that's a lot of
24.
that's a lot of money, you know.
Okay, they want to pay coppers
A whole
1.8 naira.
Whooping
In 2
almost
years.
2
Because they're
million.
giving them 77,000 naira now. It's a case of you will die here. Kill here for 2
You don't
years.
have any
You
other
walk.
things to do. I mean, people are already talking about scrapping the NYSC, that it's not fit for purpose anymore, and it's outlived its usefulness.
So-
and the government is now talking about extending. I think the Minister of Education just expressed a personal opinion. I don't think
Let me
it's
read a
official
number of the
policy.
things that
Yes.
the Minister of Education, Olatunji Alausa, had said. So he had advocated for the extension of the national service from 1 to 2 years with the expansion of NYSC skill acquisition and entrepreneurship development training program content for core members. He also advocated for the deployment of more graduate teachers to serve in rural schools, saying this would fill the manpower gap in the schools, after, of course, commending the management of NYSC for its proactive and digitalized efforts in the mobilization process aimed at curbing certificate racketeering involving some foreign-trained graduates within West Africa. My take on this would be, everyone, I have said it 1,001 times on this show, my position on NYSC, right? And I think that what we have currently is not working. The goal of NYSC was to ensure that we created a united Nigeria after, it was an offshoot of the Civil War, to see that we made Nigeria one nation, we made Nigeria, like they would say, one nation under God. But it hasn't quite panned out that way. We've been very divided along ethnic and political lines. As a matter of fact, there are people who get posted to certain parts in the country, certain parts in northern Nigeria, that will say, no, I'm not going there. I'll wait, I'll apply another year, or find a way to work my way back to Lagos. We're not going to be oblivious of the fact that these things happen, right? So I would say that the system we have is currently not working.
It wasn't, okay, I'll let you complete your...
Okay, the system we have, I don't think it's currently working. Now, there are people, that is not to say that the NYSC system is entirely flawed, because there are people who get, from their PPA, they get job appointments, there are people who have opportunities, even the entrepreneurship training, skill acquisition within the NYSC affords some people the opportunity to realize, you know what, I don't want to work my certificate. I've learned a skill here, or whilst waiting to get a job, I can use a skill learned in camp to diversify my financial, my income.
Yes.
So what I would say is, I'm not in support of 2 years.
Okay.
If we are going to continue with the 1 year as is, we need to refurbish the system. We need to rework the system. Otherwise, we need to completely dismantle it because it's not working. I said that NYSC feels like a punishment for going to school, like it's punishment for going to university.
Now, I disagree, and I feel you shouldn't throw away the baby and the bathwater.
All right.
There are good things that have come out of NYSC, like you rightly acknowledged too. And we just need to reform the system.
Yeah, that's
to
why I
make
said
it
it's either of two
more
things.
fit for purpose.
Yeah.
And that 2 years is a no-no.
Okay, you disagree with the 2 years.
We shouldn't even have that.
Yeah, so that's why I said it's either we
but
rebrand
some
what we have,
people, I
or we
mean,
totally scrap it.
Like, it's their first opportunity to interact with Nigerians from different parts of the country, and also their first opportunity to travel outside where they schooled or grew up. So it has a way of fostering national unity, even up till today.
You think it's fostering national
yes,
unity?
I think so. You interact with people from different parts of the country. But how they go about it, or the postings, the security issues, is another kettle of fish, which can be solved in the long term. I don't think parts of Nigeria will be under security threats.
Okay, let's
forever.
just beg to disagree. I think I agree with the minister. Yes,
2 years.
2 years, I agree. Nigerians, relax. I agree with him, and I'll tell you why I agree with him. I thought about this yesterday carefully. What I don't agree, or what I may not agree with him, is the process. Now let's think about this. We are talking about lack of jobs, okay? So if you have people serving under the NYSC, and they are possibly at schools or so on and so forth, I think it shouldn't just be an extension. It should be an extension. Let's give it a new name. Maybe after you serve for 1 year, let's call it maybe a governmental extension of whatever. Maybe
should it be
employment or
compulsory or
something.
voluntary?
It shouldn't be compulsory. However, what it means, this is what I think. I think since the coppers are now earning 77,000 naira, when they extend for the next second year, it will be reviewed upwards to 120,000, meaning that you can be put under the government payroll.
So are
while
you suggesting something like a graduate
service.
trainee program?
Exactly. So you continue for another 1 year. In other words, it's still going to be under the NYSC scheme, meaning that you, after 77,000 naira for a year, you now get 120,
Okay.
and then you start earning.
So
And
the
that
question
way,
is,
I agree with Joe.
we all have different standpoints
people
on
will now
this.
get employed, you know.
All right, let's ask our audience, what do you think
So we
about
agree,
it?
just fine tune
NYSC
it.
for 2
Minister of
years.
Education, fine
Are you in
tune it.
support of NYSC for 2 years, or do you
fine tune
think NYSC is working as is, or do you think we need to rework the current system, or do you think it should be totally scrapped or made voluntary? What are your thoughts about NYSC? Let us know at News Central TV. I can tweet at us individually as well. But now let's share with you what our top stories are this morning on Breakfast Central. President Tinubu urged to declare state of emergency in Plateau, and away from that, we're looking at the Labour Party. Abure out as Labour Party begins 2027 plans. We're looking at what the party looks like and what the projections for the future are. Plunging oil prices sparks concerns for Nigeria's economy. And News Central launches on GoTV 23, exciting times. And thank you to all those who are joining us via that platform as well. We'll be reviewing the newspaper front pages. We have a guest joining, and we'll open the phone lines so you can call in this morning on Breakfast Central. Three political parties scheduled their gubernatorial primary elections on Saturday in Awka, the Anambra State capital, ahead of the November 8, 2025 election. The Labour Party, against speculations of possible disturbances, had its primary election with no hit whatsoever. News Central's Chinwe Ugele, who covered the exercise, brings us more.
One after the other, the delegates chosen from their various wards line up for accreditation by the party officials to be certified to vote. Once the process is over, actual voting begins, and then the counting of the ballots. Throughout the time, the delegates and officials watch with keen interest, with no disruptions or violence.
We are conducting the governorship primary for who is going to be our flag bearer for November 8th governorship elections in Anambra State.
The delegates, as you can see, they are well behaved. Accreditation is going on smoothly, and we are not envisaging, there's no cause for alarm.
We are prepared. You see, all the local governments are here, all the delegates are here, showing you the enthusiasm of the people to elect somebody that will carry their flag.
After the counting, the mantle of flying the party's flag falls on George Moghalu.
That George Moghalu is hereby declared winner.
I think it's a fair process as far as this activity was concerned.
In the full glare of INEC officials present, he receives his certificate of return from the primary committee chairman, who gives a first charge to the delegates.
It's much more how much you go home. And I charge you today that this election, we will do all we can, to win it come November 8th, 2025.
Speaking shortly after, George Moghalu expresses his determination to win the November 8 gubernatorial election in Anambra State.
After which we have to go to work. We have to go to work to sell our message. We have to go to work to let our people know why we are actually seeking for power. We have to go to work to sell the Labour agenda that is designed for the benefit of the people of Anambra State. We have said in and out of our rooms that we want to bring change. And that change starts from tomorrow morning.
Stakeholders and delegates at the primary say they are confident that their party has a candidate with the capacity to win the incumbent governor.
So by this, I think I have confidence that we're going to win the election.
Despite recent turbulence within the party, the Labour Party in Anambra State has weathered all odds to go into this process with no report of any parallel primary held anywhere in the state. In Oka for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Well, there you have it. The Labour Party, of course, has done its presidential primaries, gubernatorial primaries, I beg your pardon. And I think one of the interesting parts there would be the most recent plotting, I would call it the campaign. That happened in the Labour Party. I just like to call it plotting. The campaign that happened in the Labour Party was Valentine Ozigbo. When he decided to leave the Labour Party, it caused a lot of stir. Because people thought he would have easily been in line to get the Labour Party gubernatorial ticket, which he had last year. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in his favor. But the tide has now turned. He's gone to the APC and still was not able to clinch it. And one wonders what will be of his political ambition.
We had the opportunity to interview him here, and it was he sounded like someone that had the moral conviction. He knew what he was doing. So I think it's beyond the party, the gubernatorial ticket, because he sounded convinced that, you know, the APC is the party to join. He also talked about his personality beyond the ideological alignment. So the fact that he didn't clinch the ticket doesn't mean that his love for the APC has ended.
Political parties are just vehicles, as we've seen in Nigeria. The typical expectation is that political parties are guided by ideologies, and individuals who seek to vie for office will then align themselves with the political parties that have the ideologies that are similar with theirs, with the same value systems. But that's not the case that we've seen here. What we've seen in Nigeria, unfortunately, is individuals looking for the party that is the quickest avenue to power, the quickest vehicle to power. So political parties are more vehicles, vessels, and tools to get seats of power, but not necessarily places where you can look at their ideologies. What really is the ideology? Even this Labour Party that we just talked about, what is the ideology of the Labour Party?
Good governance. All of them.
All of them.
On their manifesto, we'll fix road, we'll fix, we'll give you water.
I think as colleagues, you guys have broken it down already. There's nothing that is not clear that you haven't said. I mean, Olive, like you said, it's just a vehicle.
Yeah.
Everybody's just hopping on what will get me there very quickly. And I think if you ask Mr. Ozigbo why he would have left Labour Party to the APC, I mean, I and Benga were able to have him on the show, and we asked him those questions. I mean, he had said that the APC would get him there, you know, where he plans to be very, you know, possibly thinking very easily. And I'm sure that this weekend's blow would have been so unexpected. The winner himself had come out to say that representing the APC is what he knew it was time for him to have done that. He also mentioned that he had been a godfather for so long, and it's high time for him to also come out. Kind of like a reminiscent of what the current president has said, that he had Milokon's my turn, which is what he kind of like said, that he's been doing this, it's now time for him to rule. How would this impact on, you know, those who have, let me use probably to use the word political migration, those who have migrated from migration, you know, from one political party to another. Sadly, another video surfaced where a member of the House of Assembly was talking to the speaker and saying that the Nigerian constitution or the law says that if you are, in quotes, politically migrating to another party after having used that party, the party's ticket to get to your destination, that you ought to, you know, have that seat declared vacant.
Yeah.
But you see, the lawmaker said no, that's not going to happen. And we've started to see again, Olive, if you notice, every single thing we're talking about keeps evolving or revolving around the laws of the land, judiciary, the Nigerian constitution. I bet to say that if you check online on all the news stories that we've had here on News Central, I can say this, that in the past 5 days, about 70% of them borders on constitution.
All right.
Absolutely, and rule of law. Olive, what lessons can we learn, life lessons, from Mr. Valentine Ozigbo's ordeals in the APC?
As the resident motivational speaker. Well,
yes, as an only lady, a woman of wisdom and substance.
Well,
is this Monday motivation?
Monday motivation. Sometimes it's not by how far, but how well.
Yes.
That's one. Two, things are not as they appear to seem.
Yeah.
The grass is not always greener, even though I'm wearing green. The grass is not always greener on the other side.
Not on my side. My side is green.
It's green.
My side too is green.
But I think that for us as Nigerians, again, we should come back home to talk about the quality of leaders that we're raising. And I'm not just even talking about the current crop of leaders. Yeah. I'm talking about those who will vie for office in the next 5, 10, 15 years. It will be a shame, and it is a shame, that the same challenges we are experiencing now are the same challenges that Chinua Achebe wrote about in his book, The Problem with Nigeria, in the 1980s. And now we're in 2025. We're still experiencing the same challenges. You know, every time I think about it, I say, I can imagine how he'll be rolling in his grave, because he could never have envisaged that Nigeria will still be where it is now.
At this point.
So what would be a shame is that years from now, in another, say, 20 years, we're still navigating the same quality of low-budget leaders that we have in Nigeria, people who are not passionate about governance, but are only there to pillage our commonwealth. They are only there for their own personal aggrandizement. So we need to ensure that we're reworking the system. And it goes back to even teaching leadership as far back as primary schools, going back to, it's a rebranding of the mind, reworking of the mind, teaching people about our value system. Exactly, it's a ground-up approach. We need to go back to, but remember when we were younger, Benga and Joe, in our schools.
We're still young, please.
That's why I said younger. Yeah. When we were younger, in our primary schools, do you remember then when we were conscious of things like picking paper around?
Trash.
They will make you, everybody, all the students.
A punishment to you pick trash.
You know, you pick trash. Once you've messed up, you go around and pick around the school. There were certain things that were part of our value systems. Unfortunately, over time, these things have broken down. This is why we're a very, very anyhow set of people. So we need to go back and start to work on their minds from the younger generation.
It's never too late to make that decision and to reach that point where you say, look, from this point onwards, we'll focus on positivity and we'll change our value system and the mindset. And the National Orientation Agency does have a lot of work. To do. And we all collectively as Nigerians.
We all do have a lot of work to do. I'm hoping that as individuals, would also play our parts in ensuring that we lead Nigeria to the promised land, to where it ought to be. Very importantly as well, to work on our administration of justice systems, where people who are coming into leadership understand that regardless of whatever power you're sitting in at the moment, you can and you will be made to account for your time in office, for the resources that were at your disposal, and that impunity will not thrive. So if there were strong consequences for poor actions, we would see that there will be a revamping in the quality of leaders that Nigeria churns out. But that's that for the Labour Party and all the other political parties. We're going to see more and more primaries being handled in different positions as we count down to 2027. The elections are around the corner. And I know it feels like, oh, we just started one cycle. We are midway into the 2023 election cycle.
Month, yes.
And there'll be more. All right, let's move on to our next story, looking at a recent $10 drop in global crude oil prices has more new pressure to Nigeria's struggling economy, with analysts warning of severe implications for revenue and fiscal stability. Brent crude settled at $64.9 per barrel last Friday, well below Nigeria's 2025 budget, which the benchmark of $75. The slump was triggered by the new U.S. trade tariffs and an unexpected move by the OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and Alliance, to scale up production starting in May. A move to raise crude output by 411,000 barrels per day across 8 member countries.
Well, let's tell you that this comes as Nigeria continues to fall short of its production target of 2.06 million barrels per day, with current output stock at around 1.47 million barrels per day. Amid rising inflation, a weakening naira, and a 1.2 trillion naira monthly fuel import bill, the oil price dip may increase the country's borrowing burden. But let's hear from an expert. We're now going to be joined later on in the course of this conversation. We'll be having an expert join us, an energy consultant, and one who has followed this story very closely, talking about Sheung Daniel. But before he joins us, it's going to be a much bigger conversation going forward now. Now, if you're watching and you're thinking, as a Nigerian, what's my concern with the dollar and so on and so forth, oil prices, U.S. tariff and OPEC's, recent move? Well, guess what? It concerns you. And that's because the budget that was being passed for 2025, the fiscal allocation, was passed as a result of what you have here. Remember that it was benchmarked to a certain number in terms of $75 per barrel. Now, that's that. Prior to that, the presidency had to go back to review the allocation again, if you recall, before passing it again. So there was an increase. And
I remember when we were talking about this.
Yes, we talked about this very carefully. I remember, Olive. And we said this increase, it was benchmark. What if? Remember we asked, what if? And the experts who joined it had said, yeah, what if, and so on and so forth. And now, here it is.
I remember when we were talking about it. The conversation was, are we being realistic, or is it just hope that yes, really, is it just vibes? Were we being realistic? Were we being practical?
Yeah.
Or is this just a figment of our imagination? And I know that some analysts were of the view then that it's better to draft in a way that signifies hope, but then the current reality doesn't look hope. In April of 2025, Donald Trump has slammed nations with tariffs. We've seen a 10% levy on nations such as Saudi Arabia,
50%
UAE.
on tiny Lesotho in southern Africa.
And the 14% on Nigeria.
So we're seeing an increase in different. China, although has done a counter one,
Same with Canada.
They've slammed, I think, 34% on American goods. So we're seeing on the worry is that this is, of course, leading to a trade war that would then lead to a global recession. When there is a global recession, what happens to our
the
currency?
American markets lost almost $2 trillion on Friday. We're waiting for the markets to open in America. Only God knows what will happen today. But let's zoom home and talk to ourselves. This is as a result of failure to plan. How do you have a monoproduct economy since oil was discovered in Oilibiri in 1956 or 58? And then since then, you stopped paying attention to your agricultural sector. This is what it does. It exposes you to external shocks. US and China having their trade war, and then boom, oil is now below $65 per barrel as against the $75 that we benchmark. There are multiple implications to this. Double-edged sword, but would rather, because our foreign exchange receipts are dependent on oil. Over 80% is the cash cow of the Nigerian economy. And there's also, don't forget, the loans that we've taken with this benchmark, hoping that we'll be able to sell at this price. Production has slightly dipped too because of the recent explosions we've seen in Rivers State. And then there's also the part of, the only positive out of this is that Nigerians are paying less for the pump price of petrol because crude oil has dropped in value. But we'd rather
Are we really going to pay less? So that's another.
It's a $10 is significant. It's a $10.
Well, I don't know, because at the end of the day, beyond that, there's also the possibility of an inflation as well here. If we experience an inflation, there's a global recession and it hits home and we experience an inflation, does that not also weaken the value of our currency? Exactly. And in a certain way, just like robbing Peter to pay Paul, I don't necessarily know if we're going to experience cheaper prices of petrol, and if that's really going to impact our economy positively. Also, like you mentioned, very valid point there, we had enough time when we prepared for this. The conversation about diversification of the economy has been on for the longest time. During the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, we heard it over and over again. Diversification of the economy. The last administration talked about diversifying, and even this one into agri. How successful have we been? We are still largely dependent on crude oil. So this, I worry about how it will hit home. I worry also about the fact that Nigeria hasn't had the easiest year or past 2 years. So right now, we can't take any more shocks. Individuals and businesses, and I also worry about
inflation.
Exactly, we can't take any more of that. And I worry about if we're going to now start to see, migration of capital, people migrating their capital out of the country. I don't know what the implications might be, and I think this again forces us to look back and think of how we can insure ourselves against future surprises like this.
Well, then again, this is going to be one hell of a task for the one who wears the crown, which happens to be the #1 citizen, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and all who are in his cabinet, because this is going to be a big problem for them to handle. What this trade war is going to lead to is really going to affect you as a Nigerian, because what it simply means is the tax that has been put on Nigeria whether you like it or not, would affect every single thing, one way or the other. Take a look at what was equally mentioned as well. You have China, you have countries like Singapore who are also going to be hit severely because of these things. But then again, you wonder what happens to the World Trade Organization. How can they step in? But Trump has already ensured that President Donald Trump of the United States has already ensured that, listen, in other words, I don't care about the World Trade Organization.
He doesn't really care about anyone. His closest allies. The only people that have been sucking up to him and had a bit of a reprieve is the United Kingdom.
Exactly.
Because they've been hit with 10%. But Germany's manufacturing industry, we were still complaining here.
Yeah.
Imagine highly industrialized nations that every dollar, every margin counts. A country like Germany, for example, and France. And they're also, it's led to conversations about, you know, evaluating their relationship with the United States, because they're under Trump. They're saying that they're not reliable partners. And if they can do this to their own allies, imagine what African countries will have to go through. So the moral of the story is you better wake up and smell the coffee. Exactly. Put your house in order and prevent yourselves from external shocks. The best way to do that is not to be dependent on raw materials and just monoproduct economy. We need to develop our economy across all sectors. Imagine, look at Kenya, for example. Their service sector is thriving. Kenya exports roses to different parts of the world. So we need to, we have the human and material resources.
This will again kickstart the conversation about diversification. Just like we've started talking
about it for 2 years.
We'll
then when petrol goes back to, when crude oil goes back to
everybody will now relax. So do we have the political will? Do we have the political will to sustain an actual diversification? And that's not to say that we haven't done well or we're not making progress in other industries, like in the agri sector. We have made some measure of progress. But have we made enough progress to ensure that Nigeria, that is a nation that has a lot of raw food products? I mean, you go to Benue State, look at the food basket of the nation. If we look, we have so many things that can be exported, but have we done enough to ensure that we support our agricultural sector, to ensure that Nigeria can depend on its food? You know?
And the entire value chain, not just the raw process.
Oh, yes.
We need the processing, packaging, export.
You know, exactly. There's a whole chain that is involved in this conversation.
While you guys are talking, a word keeps coming to my mind, and it's a word that has been used for as much as I can recall in the past 3 weeks, which happens to be, I mean, state of emergency. You know, we do know that state of emergency conversation, and it's about time that we look deep into it. The farmers have complained in years, even since former President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure, that, listen, we can't farm. If Nigerians are known to we're dependable on our farming structure, ensuring that food crops move from one place to the other and so on. And now, it's basically like the biblical story that, look out, a drought is coming, everywhere's going to be dry, start planning, and then of course, you have the man himself, who happened to have taken time out to tell Pharaoh, listen, this is what the dream means, let's start storing up. The question is, are we storing up, or are we still being dependent on, you know, the oil and gas sector that we always have been dependent on?
The answer is obvious.
It's obvious. And I think for me, I wish our guest, let's also tell our viewers that our guest is having challenges joining us. It would have been a very fantastic conversation, because he's been following this story very carefully since the announcement was made about the tariff that was added, especially from the United States, and how the World Trade Organization is faring. Don't forget World War II, how it started as well, you know, especially after enabling countries to be able to trade, and why the dollar has been able to handle this situation, and up until now we're still here. But then again, like we say, let's be hopeful. When our guest joins, we'll try as much as possible to break this down. Binga, let's move to where we're going to.
Okay, we go straight into our next conversation as we take a look into the leadership crisis rocking the Labour Party and its ambitious preparations for the 2027 elections. The Labour Party has been rocked by a leadership crisis following the Supreme Court's ruling that removed Julius Abure as national chairman. This decision has sparked debates within the party and raised questions about its future direction.
The party's internal divisions have been laid bare, with factions clashing over the interpretation of the court's judgment. While some members of the party are calling for unity, others are pushing for a complete overhaul of the leadership structure as the party plans ahead for the 2027 elections. Joining us now to discuss this development in the party is Abayomi Arabambi, factional National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. Good morning, Mr. Arabambi. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. And good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Arabambi, unfortunately, what we're seeing is we had hoped that the Supreme Court, given a ruling about the Labour Party, will sort of give us clarity, but it seems that we've started to see multiple interpretations of what the Supreme Court ruling meant. So let's ask you what your thoughts are about the Supreme Court ruling.
Well, thank you very much. I am holding here before Nigerian and the international community. This is the appeal filed by the Caretaker Committee. You can see their name there. This is what we obtained from the Supreme Court. Now, in the appeal for lawyers in the House, your notice of appeal is what you are going to predicate every other thing in your originating summon. You cannot prove what you don't have your notice of appeal in your originating summon. And their appeal is based just on two issues. They formulated two issues in the appeal. They said the relief sought from the Supreme Court, this is number 4, item number 4. The relief they sought is here, number 4. They said they want the court to allow the appeal. That's one. 2, to set aside part of the judgment containing the perverse finding and determination. Now, what now transpire is this. They did not ask to be named as the leader in charge of Labour Party. And you know why they couldn't? Because Supreme Court has made pretorial decision that issue of party leadership, it is not justiciable by the court, that the court cannot dabble into it. Therefore, they also have busted, they busted themselves into a corner, asking for only 2 relief, that the court, should set aside part of the judgment delivered on January 17th. So some of us are now shocked that, the same people are parading themselves, claiming the same Supreme Court, whom the court that they have accused here in their particular error, that the court below, they are talking about the Court of Appeal, that they granted or claimed relief, thereby turning itself into a Father Christmas. That was the accusation they made against the Court of Appeal. So I don't know whether Supreme Court is not a Father Christmas that we now dabble into internal affairs of a political party and now pronounce them as, the chairman or secretary of a political party. Because I want all of us to know that we are not fools, for God's sake. Because somebody is a governor, a senator, house of rep, or a businessman, a millionaire, doesn't mean you will now appropriate, every knowledge of politics, of law, or to yourself. It is the law that is leading them. I am telling Nigeria that Supreme Court actually said, and that has always been their decision. The Court of Appeal they were accusing said they declined jurisdiction. That is Justice Anambra. In the November 13th judgment they are complaining about, the court declined jurisdiction. In the 2017, the court declined jurisdiction. The error made by the court was to have, overreach its boundary and now proclaiming that, this is the issue of leadership. And I need to make something clear. The November 13th they were talking about was not about issue of leadership. It was about the primaries. It was a pre-election matter that happened when we did our primary in Ondo and Dr. Ayolonfemi was elected, INEC publishing. But somewhere, Joe Ajero led NSP and his own caretaker chairman, Abdulwahid Omar, they went to INEC by writing a letter against the Constitution, signing it as chairman and secretary and submitted to INEC, which INEC refuses. They now proceeded to court, and the court ordered INEC to remove the substantive candidate, Ayolonfemi, and replace it with the NSC candidate. This was why we now proceeded to Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal ruled that it's only the substantial chairman and secretary that can sign letter. Therefore, INEC should remove Ebiseni and put Dr. Yolorifemi. That was in November 30 judgment. Now, in the January 17 judgment, it was Justice Amembaka who erroneously overreached his boundary. He had declared jurisdiction, but he only went ahead to say the judgment of November 13 that recognizes Barrister Julius Abure, national chairman, since subsists, he now declared jurisdiction. This was what the national caretaker ran to court for, and Supreme Court on that day decided that both the Federal Court and the Court of Appeal, they lacked jurisdiction. They overstepped their bound. They were not supposed to entertain that matter.
So if
Labour Party is not in
so if you are saying, just to quickly interject now.
No,
if you're, all right, I just want to add whilst you're explaining.
Let me just give you that background.
Yeah, if you're saying that the Supreme Court is nullifying the jurisdiction of the appellate court to be able to say, that's instated Julius Abure as chairman. So does that not automatically mean that if they're nullifying it, that means we're going back to the status quo to say that Julius Abure was not the chairman, or is no longer the chairman?
No. That was not what happened. You see, we don't have any vacuum in Labour Party. There is no vacuum in Labour Party. Now, there was an extension as granted in our constitution. APC extended the tenure of their executive. PDP extended the tenure of Davagun. It is always there in the constitution. When, for some reasons, you cannot hold your convention, the neck of the party, which is the second largest, organ, has the power to extend, your state. And let me be very clear. Mr. Pitobi was there in Asaba when that extension was granted. And Lesotho was there in that Asaba when that extension was made. It was during the 1-year extension that they now went for convention. And what is the purpose of a convention? How do you make sure when you do your convention, it is it is sacrosanct? Here, this is the Electoral Act of the Federal Government of Nigeria. I am not just holding paper from my village. Now, Section 92 is very clear here, so that some lawyers should not think we are on. This is it. Every registered political party, when you want to do a convention, because the party said they should go back. Parties should go back to recognize the constitution and their, the constitution of their party and recognize it. Now, this is what the electoral say in Section 92(1). For you to hold a valid convention or congress, it says every registered political party shall give commission at least 21 days notice of any convention, congresses, and conferences meeting. But 82(5) says failure of a political party to notify the commission as stated in subsection 1 shall render the convention, congresses, conferences, or meeting invalid. Now, Labour Party gave INEC notice, but it was Governor Lesotho that, colluded with INEC that they should not visit. He has forgotten that the constitution is very clear. Once INEC has been informed in Section 82(1), that is the final. If they don't come, it will remain their business. And we have even gotten judgment on INEC. That was why most of these senators House of Rep complaining. Let me be very blunt with you.
Okay.
That was how we succeeded in getting their name inside. Because INEC told us, all of them, they were in APC and PDP. Mr. Arabami, to woefully in that primary was why they came.
Mr. Arabami, thank you very much. Thank you very much for laying that background passionately. I could see the passion in your disposition, and thank you very much for laying that background. But the Supreme Court has advised political parties to resolve their leadership tussles internally. Do you think the Labour Party has credible and functional mechanisms as it is to manage such conflicts without judicial intervention as we speak? What's the way forward now that the Supreme Court has given its judgment?
Now, I know, you see, we need to clarify the Supreme Court matter so that people will not be fielding themselves with false information. Now, the party has internal mechanism. We have only 12 principal organs in our party, and the highest in our convention, National Executive Council, National Committee, we do not have what they call National Interim Committee. And I also want their lawyer to know that Section 223 has made it clear. You think Supreme Court cannot void our constitution? Supreme Court cannot void the constitution.
But Mr. Abame, Supreme Court is the final court of...
I'm coming. You see, you know they were claiming the Supreme Court affirmed them. Section 223, I am quoting the Nigerian Constitution now, has stated that no party shall be aided by any unlawful organization except through a democratically, elected, election. So, interim committee appointed by anybody cannot function. Any day, any time, anybody posted their name on their website, we shall proceed to court to go and challenge that illegality. Now, we have leadership because Abure has conducted convention in line with the Eastern Constitution. So Supreme Court, who says internal affairs of party is leadership, cannot dabble into our convention. Supreme Court cannot nullify a convention because that will mean they are probating and reprobating at the same time. Our internal mechanism is there, and most of these people are not even a member up to yet now. And the people pushing them, they have the agenda. Now, today, as I speak now, they are all on their way. They said they want to come and pay the secretariat. Okay, Mr. You don't need to pay the secretariat. If you know the Supreme Court has affirmed you, go back, to that court to say, oh, this judgment you gave us, certain people didn't comply, file contempt of court, against the leadership. But as far as we are concerned, what we are trying to do is that we've been able to put a party in place after that convention. But what most of them wanted was this.
Okay, you are saying that they should go back. Mr. Abambi, who do you who are you advising to go back to the court? And are you suggesting perhaps that there should be a return to the Supreme Court for the interpretation of this ruling?
No. The interim committee are claiming via a viral audio, because some of us were shocked that they could record justice of the Supreme Court without authority, because it is there that there shall be no land transmission of proceedings of court. You are only allowed to cover them before and after the proceeding. But you see the people that want to cover Nigeria, they went inside the court with recording gadgets. They were recording the justice of the Supreme Court today, that day, and they were sending it out. But if it was wicked, if it was FPC or PDP that did that, you will see most of these people. They will be running around accusing the Chief Justice of Nigeria. But they were the one that was sending this information out, recording the justices of the Supreme Court, and now sending it out when that judgment was ongoing. That is how you see some people behaving and what they will do, even if they have opportunity to go into government. But as far as we are concerned, they are free to go back. We don't have any issue with the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said they lack jurisdiction. But before they went to court, there was a national chairman, there was a national secretary, there was also NWC in place, in line with with our convention. So for what we are saying is very simple. That party has no issue, and I'm going to make a reference before we finish. Remember, Anyanwu and Ode, they went to Supreme Court over the issue of national secretary. The Supreme Court declared anyone as national secretary. They said they should go back to the party. And when they went back to the party, the NWC of that party decided it is Anyanwu that is the national secretary. That is what the Supreme Court is saying. Go back to your party is purely internal affairs of the party. They didn't say it's an affair of the governor of Abia State. No. They didn't say it was an affair of some senators, in the Labour Party. No. They didn't say it was an affair of some House of Rep. No. They cannot just conduct themselves together as a stakeholder and say, no, we are the party. They are not the party because we have 12 organs. Here. And I have here also is because of time, counter affidavit of INEC against this so-called interim committee, where they are not a body they are going to recognize. Okay, as far as they are concerned, there was a counter against them, which Supreme Court didn't look at because they were the one that bring issue of leadership. But as far as we are concerned, Abure remained the national chairman of the party has confirmed, and that we are going to do today in Abuja, as directed by the Supreme Court. He remained now chairman of the party. The Supreme Court did not say that our convention was not valid, because that means they are dabbling into internal affairs of the party against their own judgment.
Right, Mr. Rabambi,
it is their lawyer that is making mockery, of the judgment of the Supreme Court. We are not part of it.
Mr. Rabambi, thank you so much. We can tell that you're really, hurting as you share your summation. But just my last question, and my only question for you is, where is Senator Nenadi Usman now? Is she still the chairman of the caretaker committee, or is she not part of the caretaker committee at all? And what is the way forward?
You see, as far as we are concerned, like I said, Supreme Court said, go and follow your constitution. Before you are going to amend the constitution, you have to go to convention. And who is the person that can write to INEC convention? It is there in the INEC statutes. Here, it is there in the INEC statute. It is only National Chairman and National Secretary that can give INEC 21-day notice of convention or congresses. So there is no room for interim committee in INEC. If they want to dare us, whether Lesotho or not, they can try it. We will push ourselves to 2027. We will continue to be in the corridor of that court. We only have the National Committee, the convention, the NEC, the NWC, that is headed by National Chairman and National Secretary. It is there. We do not have interim committee. The people that gathered in Abia, they have forgotten. When you want to call a NEC meeting, it is the National Secretary that will issue the notice. It is there in our constitution. Then he will not go and seek approval for the National Chairman. But the notice was signed by our presidential candidate, with due respect to Mr. Peter Obi, and Governor Lesotho. That has no place in our constitution, except in the constitution of the party they were coming from, or in the Abia State constitution. It is not in our own constitution. So Governor Lesotho cannot just come and import all those constitution of, the way used to govern the executive council and bring it to Labour Party. This is our constitution. We challenge them to show you where governor has the power to sign in letter to INEC. It was upon this that INEC filed a counter against them in Abia State, that they are not a nobody. So as far as we speak now, Nenadi cannot act in any capacity for Labour Party, because it is alien and is going to be against the ruling of the Supreme Court that said parties must obey their constitution. And let me tell you where that statement first of all emanated. It was between the former, Rivers State governor, that's Amechi versus Celestine Omea.
Okay.
And my Lord Justice Berio Dili decided that parties in Supreme Court must obey their constitution.
Mr. Rabambi, Mr. Rabambi, just to ask you what the next steps are, you have an whether we like it or not, regardless of how very convinced you are that your interpretation of the Supreme Court ruling is what it is, and that Julius Abure is still the chairman of the party. There are many who agree that that's not the position, and that Julius Abure is out, and the party will go on with Senator Nenadi Usman as caretaker. There also are reports, we've seen just if you can let me land.
No, let me tell you.
Can I please land, okay. Mr. Rabambi? Can I please land before you go ahead? Thank you very much. So the question now is, what are the next steps in terms of the caretaker committee? I did see reports about the potential of a takeover of the Labour Party headquarters by the Senator Nenadi Usman caretaker committee. Can you confirm if there's a plan in this regard, and what your faction of the party intends to do should the caretaker committee and the other supporters there insist on taking over the Labour Party leadership?
Now, if the Supreme Court, if they claim Supreme Court gave them the ruling in their favor, that means Supreme Court is perverse. That is what they are saying. But I am telling you that Supreme Court, in their own appeal, they claim here, Supreme Court, in the Plateau decision, has said that the issue of leadership is not justiciable. That is, you cannot bring it to the court. Go and resolve it. And I just give you an example of Ode versus Anyanwu. It has been decided. For us, nobody, no court authorizes them. If court authorizes them, that means the court of appeal were right. because they were the one complaining here in their ground of appeal that the Supreme Court has said that issue of leadership is not justiciable. So where are they coming from?
So what will you do? I think the question I ask you is, what will you do? Should they insist on taking over the reins of leadership? Should they insist on taking over the headquarters? What is the future for the Labour Party?
And you know their plan? No, they cannot. They said they want to come what do you call it? In Yoruba balance. You know, when somebody is threatening to come and beat you in your house, you know, you too, you have to prepare for him. They do not have monopoly of violence. It was Jero. You know, this is he had done it twice. He wants to come and try it the third time. We will be there for him. He is not the president of Nigeria. He is the president of Worker. And we are not civil servants. We are not under him. So if they want to come and try with an activist man, even governor, no problem. We are there. So maybe this is important for people to declare emergency in Anambra State.
But can you confirm if there is a plan? Can you confirm if there is a plan to take over?
In Anambra State.
Can you confirm if there is a plan for a forceful takeover? Because the Punch does report that there might be a plan in that regard.
They send the message. They all the audacity problem. Even send that message to me that they are coming to invade. They said to the national chairman that they are coming to invade the Labour Party secretariat. But we are well prepared. Since they were the one that sent the message, we have informed the security agencies about it. But they will meet us when we did their Gidigba. They will meet us.
When you say,
let them come with their club and project, let them come with their gun. They will meet us in that secretariat.
Mr. Abambi,
they will meet us there.
Mr. Abambi, please, we don't want to, we're not preaching violence here, we understand. But when you say you are ready for them, what do you mean by you are ready for them?
They cannot take over that secretariat. I said they sent message to us that they are coming to invade us violently. Didn't we have the right to defend ourselves? If somebody in this country where we have a sitting president, some NSC who was supposed to conduct themselves in a civil manner, we have the audacity to be sending messages to political parties that they are coming to invade.
Mr. Abambi, very quickly, because we're out of time.
What he did in Igbo, that he was beating black and blue.
Mr. Abambi,
they said they want to come and do that. So you mean that you see that somebody come and slap me? Am I a mumu?
But you reported enforcement.
We have reported them. No, we will be there. So let them come. It is our territory. Let them come and invade us there, so that the security will know who are the people, you know, that came there, and there will be an opportunity to even change their leadership, because they were not supposed to put somebody who will not respect the rule of law as even their president. But today is going to be the test case for them. They said they are coming. Well, we are there. We will not run away.
The next few hours will determine. Like you said, today will be a litmus. Like you said, today will be a litmus test for what the next steps are for the Labour Party. With where you are now, do you think that the Labour Party is in any way, shape or form positioned for 2027?
Of course, that is exactly what we are planning. But you see, I'm not going to lie to you. I pity our national chairman. This was not what we bargained for, but you see, he trusted, you know, some people. Let me tell you, very soon, we will release how most of these people, you know, got their primaries in Labour Party. Some senators, all they have was 500,000. Something they cannot do in PDP and APC. 500,000 to get to that Senate. But today, because they have any money, they are now dictating what we'll be doing there. Soon, very soon, Nigeria will see, we're going to bring the shot out, so that Nigeria will know the kind of character these people are. We are waiting for them. All of them, they have ganged up. No problem. We have what they pay into the party account.
Mr. Abambi,
will be given to the public. You will see some senators, only 500,000 naira. They have the court because they are now using.
Who are these senators, Mr. Abambi? Mr. Abambi, if you don't mind, who are these senators?
We have senators in Labour Party. Okay. What got them is just out a million. For how poor they are, but today they have money. Abure is not good. I read one of them making comments today. The one in Edo. He's the one in Edo. Can he win councillorship election? That he must have. I know how Abure gave him that ticket. He was almost sweeping as secretariat. He should go to court. He was almost sweeping secretariat.
You mean Senator Neda Emaswen?
So people criticize it, Akpoti, telling them that Abure doesn't love the party since 2023. Did he love our party? Was it not because he was able to pay the money in APC that he came to he came to Labour. And see, people should not be blaming APC when they say come and pay 100 million, so that people that are poor, they will not come. But when you give the opportunity, they will grow in.
Mr. Arabambi,
whatever APC is doing to them, I'm going to support whatever PDP is doing to them.
We have to wrap up the conversation now. Mr. Arabambi, we have to wrap up the conversation now. Thank you for your time with us. We can see how very passionate you are about the subject matter. What we're looking for at the end of the day is that all political parties work in a way that ensures that we have democracy at its finest and we have a strong opposition. The Labour Party is currently not that strong opposition. But I guess in the next few hours, we'll find out what the latest developments are regarding the potential of the takeover of the NLC headquarters. Please stay well and all the best with the Labour Party. Thank you for your time this morning.
And please eschew violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whew.
Anyway, it's
an intense conversation.
It's a lot.
I
It's
feel
a
like
very
I needed to
interesting
take a
topic.
breather to recover from that.
Well, let's see. We do have our man on the ground. Just in case you have not heard, there is a protest that is supposed to kick off from today in different parts of Nigeria. We do have our man Niyi Omoniyi, who's on ground, and he will be telling us what's really happening in Lagos. Niyi, good morning to you. Any sign of protesters? We do hear there's a protest that's supposed to start off today. Can you give us an update on the background and what's happening there?
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, all. Yes, we're here at Ikeja on the bridge, Lagos State, and this is supposed to be the convergence point for the NBAT governors protesters. We would recall that last year, about August 1st to 10 days, protesters came out to protest against the NBAT governance, corruption, and a whole lot of things. But this time, there's another layer added to the protest, which is suppression of free speech on the backdrop of the NBAT governance. So that's like another layer to it. However, the convergence is supposed to happen at about 7 a.m. according to what we hear. But this is past 8, and I can confirm that we haven't seen one single protester inside. Yes, we've been trying to connect with some of them, but we've not been able to get through to them. However, I can confirm that there is presence of security operatives from the police and, of course, from the Nigeria Civil Defense Corps. Members all littered across the road. Economic activities are ongoing as usual. We see lots more officials doing their duties and try to control traffic as the case would be. Earlier, we met here I believe the area commander of Ikeja Division, ACP Paul Azuka. He was here earlier, and we're just trying to get information from him. But of course, you know, the police won't give us so much information. But we see them on standby, and he just left a few minutes ago. Words are that he went to monitor the Gani Fawayimi Park to know if there is any convergence there. But from what we've heard so far, there is no convergence there. And for what is being scripted on their banner, this is supposed to be the convergence points. It's still quite early in the day, and of course we know that the organizers of this movement usually keep to their word when they say they will do something, because this is cutting across the nation. I believe it's also happening in Abuja and some other states. So we're still looking out to see if we will see any protesters here, but for now we can confirm that there is mild presence of security operatives.
Now, Niyi, do you have any information on who the organizers of this protest are, and from your experience of covering protests in Lagos and Nigeria, do you think there's still a possibility that this protest might hold, knowing that today is National Police Day and the police released a statement saying that they should shelve all plans to protest?
While there are so many questions still left unanswered as to why exactly will this process commence, first noting that the same set of organizers that organized the NBAT governors protest back last year in August, which is the Take It Back movement, are the same set of organizers that are organizing these NBAT governors protests. And let's not forget that we still have some protesters still in court and their case on trial even as of now. And some would also ask the questions, what exactly have they achieved so far with the protests that they've done? There is this rumor that, some of the organizers are probably just doing it to get funding. I can't confirm that, but that's the rumor we are getting. But knowing the set of people which we've seen before over time, which we saw last year, they keep to their word, as I said, and they usually show up. When? I do not know. For how long? I do not know as well. But we do know that they might converge here. But if they do converge here, we will be here waiting to hear the reason this time around and what they hope to achieve by converging again this year, and what their aspirations are, or what their desires or what their demands are this time around. But of course, you can see economic activities remain the same. In fact, most people this morning didn't even know there was going to be a protest in Lagos. And let me speak to the press statements. While I can't confirm if the Lagos State Command also released a press statement, we know that from the first PRO, a press statement was released noting that the protest falls within the same time frame for the National Police Day. We, however, know that Lagos already held its National Police Day and activities as of last year, because we attended and covered some of these activities. And as of today, I'm not sure they have a National Police Day activity slated for today. But if they had, of course, it's already interrupted. But for now, no protesters on ground, and we're waiting to see if they will show up.
All right. Thank you very much, Niyi, for that update. Happy National Police Day to you. And remember, the police is your friend. Let's give you a recap of the stories we covered here this morning on Breakfast Central.
This morning on Breakfast Central, President Tinubu urged to declare state of emergency in Plateau State due to the violence and the killings. Court sacks Abure as Labour Party national chairman. However, Arabambi completely disagrees that there's been a sacking. Moghalu clinches Labour Party governorship ticket in Anambra State. So we, of course, have talked about this, as well as even what Valentine Ozigbo's chances are.
Now, coming up on Breakfast Central this morning, President Tinubu ought to declare state of emergency in Plateau. Protest rocks Nigerian cities over free speech suppression. And shelve April 7 protests. It's mischievous, says the police. So stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Today on the show, we dive into a pressing issue that has gripped Nigeria. The recent escalation of the security situation in Plateau State. The situation in Plateau State actually appears to have reached a critical point, with communities said to be under siege.
The Arawa Consultative Forum, ACF, over the weekend condemned the violent attack that claimed 52 lives in Boko's local government area of Plateau State. These attacks have led to calls for decisive action from President Tinubu, growing louder, with the group calling on the federal government to declare a state of a security emergency in the area. Joining us now to discuss the situation is Tukur Mohammed Baba, National Publicity Secretary of Arawa Consultative Forum. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
A very good morning to you. It's my pleasure to be here today.
Unfortunately, it's an unpleasurable conversation that we're having this morning. The crisis plaguing Plateau State, the Arawa Consultative Forum has jumped into the conversation. So give us a background of what exactly has occurred and what the current situation and the reality of the people of Plateau State is.
Well, you have said what exactly happened, that there had been an attack on a number of communities in Plateau State, which left over 50 people dead, many injured, a lot of property destroyed in Boko's local government area. Now, of course, this is only a series, the latest in a series of such attacks in Plateau State. It's worrying because we thought the situation in Plateau was getting better and peace was returning to the state. Unfortunately, this didn't happen, and it's very tragic. And so the Arawa Consultative Forum thought we should come out with a point of view on that. And that is to say that it is long past time to do something about the intergroup relations in Plateau State so that peace will return to this land. There's been too much bloodbath in this state, and we thought it's not good for anybody, let alone the people of the areas.
Now, analysts have not been able to pinpoint exactly what caused the massacre in Baucus. Information reaching us is that the Chief of Army Staff will be visiting there today. But what does this Baucus massacre tell us about the security architecture under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government? Is the system fundamentally flawed, or is it just overwhelmed?
I think it's a bit of both. In the first place, I think the most fundamental is the approach, the strategy and tactic used by the government, especially the federal government, because the federal government is constitutionally responsible for the lives and property, for the protection of lives and property of citizens. It has all the apparatus, all the equipment, the financial allocation that is needed to do that. What we think is happening is that whatever strategy for containment is contained in the security architecture is definitely not working. Obviously, it has been said again and again elsewhere that the kinetic approach alone will not do that. And it's better to go to the root of the crisis. What has caused this one? What are the factors at play? Who are those either articulating position, instigating this? And we need intelligence so that we can tackle it. What are the grievances? I mean, it's unthinkable that you just wake up one night or one morning and decide to attack a community.
Really unthinkable indeed.
Randomly.
Prof, if I may interject at this point, we will come back to...
There must be factors.
Right, Prof, we'll come back to, going in depth into some of the background of this crisis. And just as you've mentioned, it's unreasonable and unthinkable that we have to still be experiencing this in 2025. But we need to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Welcome back to the show. We are still looking at the unfortunate killings that have occurred in Plateau State, and this morning we're joined by Professor Toko Mohammed Baba. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, sir. Now, there have been allegations of some silence where voices that matter should speak up about this, and there's been allegations of complacency from political elites. Can you speak to this and, the voices that you think should speak up strongly about these killings and what impact these will have?
The important thing, I think, is to identify the underlying factors at play. Violence such as this do not occur in a vacuum. One, the security forces and especially the intelligence community need to tell us exactly what is happening so that we can tackle it. Number two, key stakeholders in Plateau State and all over in the nation need to speak about it. Need to do something about what is happening. And we're talking about clergy, we're talking about traditional rulers, we're talking of politicians at the state and national level. We're talking of key stakeholders who have a role to play. We're talking about everybody. We're talking about the press. What kind of reporting is going on? Do we know the actual truth of what is going on? Or are we just going for sensationalism? What should be in the background for anyone who speaks is the security of life and property. Life is sacred, and nobody has a right to take life without following due process. I mean, there has been too much bloodbath, and it's high time we all come out to speak about it. Exactly what is happening. And people should not just keep quiet. We are calling on the members of the National Assembly to discuss it. We are calling on the members of the National Assembly to hold the security forces responsible. Whatever needs to be done should be out. We should bring it out. If there are grievances, let's speak about them. If there are issues, let's speak about them. Like I said, these things do not occur in vacuum like that. Nobody wakes up one day, in my opinion, in our opinion, not any normal person will wake up and visit such mass violence on innocent people. Men, women, children, and so on. We need to speak about it. We need to bring everything about it on the table. And all those who have something to contribute, and there are a lot who have something to contribute, should come out. The federal government should roll out new strategies for dealing with these problems. We shouldn't just take the fire brigade approach. Something happens, we rush there, we deploy the police, the army, and as soon as things settle down, we go away. Underlying issues are not resolved. So a few weeks, in a little time, they then come to the surface again, and we go back in a cycle. It's as if we are going around and around and around without tackling the problem, putting our finger on the factors responsible for that. And I think this is what needs to be done. And everybody that should speak about it should, for God's sake, come out and tell us exactly what is happening, because that is where the solution will come from, tackling the underlying factors. But we just can't go on like this. It's not an animal world. We have rules and regulations that must be followed for the benefit of all concerned.
Mr. Mohammed Baba, if we look at this, I do recall that in 2023, sometime during December, particularly Christmas Eve, the same Bokos community was attacked. I do remember on this show, we had some of the residents who had joined us. They talked about over 100 persons killed on Christmas Eve. Can you share with us what the government has done right from 2023 up until now? Has there been any other form of support in terms of security? Also, what has the government done to prevent this? Can you share with us?
No, exactly. This is what we are looking for. We don't know. It's not obvious that something has been done to tackle the underlying issues. If it is, it's not been made public. And that's exactly what we're saying. Bring it out. Let's all discuss it so that we can find solution. This thing is affecting everybody. I'm not on ground. We are not on ground there. We have not received a direct report. But what we're saying is there must be intelligence. The security forces must know what is going on. And you have to have a strategy based on the data that is available. We were hoping, everyone was hoping, that we have seen the worst of the situation in Plateau, and it has this unfortunate characteristic of every time you think things have settled down, it hits you. We don't know, and it is not obvious that there has been sustained strategy of engagement of community members and so on. Like I said in our report, we said there must be a new strategy for containment, and this must include all stakeholders in the community, exactly what is happening to them and why. If this has been done, we are not aware. But of course, I don't think there is any reasonable government that will sit down and allow these things to happen. And this is what exactly our release said, that please engage stakeholders. Come out and tell us what is happening. What are the grievances? Let's look at it from that point of view. If you are asking me, has there been anything? No, I'm not aware, but I don't think government will just sit down and not do anything about it.
All right, just to follow up on that question, is the Iowa Consultative Forum planning to meet Mr. President anytime soon, or would you rather just wait to see what the government would do? Are you ready to take these issues to him personally, especially as a group?
Even if needs be, the Area Consultative Forum is always happy, but I think we will prefer an approach where the president depends on authentic security reports from ground. We don't think the president is unaware of what is happening. The security forces are there. We have a lot of intelligence on ground. Exactly what kind of intelligence is reaching the president, we don't know. But I will tell you that the Area Consultative Forum, if called upon to intervene, we will be very, very happy to get engaged, because this thing is not affecting just Bokos, Plateau State, the northern parts of the country. It's affecting everyone. I mean, the violence is unthinkable. We just can't go on like this. There has to be a stop. And our organization is happy, will be very happy to contribute to any effort to bring peace, not just to Plateau State, but specifically to Plateau State and elsewhere in the country. The forum will be very happy to meet with anybody with a view to finding solution to this. Okay. But of course, there is nothing new we can tell the president. Like I said, he has all the intelligence, or rather he should have all the intelligence. And if despite the intelligence, things are not happening, within the federal government has the necessary resources to approach the matter from another strategic angle too.
Now, Prof, talking about the president, the buck stops at his table. He's the commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. He has promised swift action and justice, and the Plateau State government says some arrests have been made. I mean, beyond these things that happen to seem like after the fact, there's also been several calls for community and state policing to deal with this. We've seen some subnational groups in the southwest, for example. There's the Amotekun group, and then in the southeast, there's Ebube Agu group. What do you make of state policing? Is it time that we bring this conversation to the forefront? Because the security forces seem overwhelmed, and some of them don't even have local intelligence. They say policing is community-based and it's local. What do you think this is a practical way forward?
Oh, there are many practical ways forward. You cannot just sit down here and say, this is the state. Look, we have come from that before. We used to have the local government police. We used to have this. It didn't work. We went back to the central. Now we're going back. I think what is needed is a very, very careful analysis of the situation on ground. Certainly, the federal forces alone with we don't have adequate numbers. They cannot cover everywhere, and so on. Definitely alternative strategies. I would not call it state police as such, but if that is what it will mean, fine. What we need is alternative strategies or complementary strategies. If these ones are not working, we need to study the situation and do something about it. Certainly, communities can be trained to act as fast responders. They can be trained to identify the early triggers of this conflict, of such skirmishes, raise concern early enough. So early detection, early response is what we need. And I think local communities can be empowered. They can be trained to identify some of these flash issues that come up and then raise the alarm. And someone should ensure that this has been raised to the right levels and action has been taken. Proactive measures are needed. And I think communities have a role to play in identifying what these triggers are. History is there, traditional rulers are there, the security forces. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, in most local governments, you have the DSS represented, but maybe one or two people, but still they're there. So the communities themselves, where security is working effectively in other parts of the country, this concept of if you see something, say something. You know, it's early detection, early response, and then people need to take the first step in ensuring the security and safety of their surrounding, and this can ramify all over. But certainly we need to rethink the security architecture. We need to look at the processes, not just the structure, what is happening, so that we don't go back to the same thing that we are running away, where the medicine will be stronger than the disease itself.
All right, Prof, you've spoken in the past about justice before peace. What will be like a realistic approach to justice in this scenario? Lives have been lost. You know, there are people who are currently mourning, and there are those who fear for their lives in the next, couple of days, weeks, months. So what will justice for the people of Plateau State look like? And then what will be a more practical approach to peace in the coming months, weeks, and years?
In the first place, we need security alertness. Like I said, there must be early warning, early response. That's one. Number two, we need to deal with one of the biggest albatross to security arrangements in this country, which is impunity. Certain groups or certain people or certain individuals do things and get away with it. We need to up our ante in intelligence, proactive intelligence, identify these things, nip such issues in the bud before they get out of hand, identify the issues and so on. The community members can do a lot. So deal with impunity. People must know there is a consequence for criminality. One, there will be retribution. Two, it will act as a deterrence to others who may think that they can do things and get away with it. There must be accountability, and there must be good governance. And this lies in everybody being held accountable, the security forces and so on. And then, of course, if justice is going to be done, justice must be seen to be done. A number of people have been arrested in the past. Elsewhere, we hear some arrests and then we don't hear about it anymore. So you keep wondering exactly what has happened. Is anybody profiting from such skirmishes? Definitely, whatever situation you have, there are members of the status quo, others who are profiting from it, and it's not in their interest to stop these things. But the point is, at the communal level, if you go to a typical rural market, you find everybody interacting. So you assess exactly what happens in the night. And the key, in my opinion, are the underlying triggers of this conflict. Unless we deal with them, we will keep coming up. So if you ask me in a nutshell what is happening in the plateau, I think the government should undertake a thorough assessment of the factors that leads to this, why some people are given to violence and so on, and they must be held accountable. I personally think the armed forces, as thin as they are, the security forces, they are well-trained, we have very robust intelligence gathering. Probably the link is to what use do we put these intelligence that we have gathered? Are we processing it? Are we deploying it? And so on. What needs to be done, then we will identify the gaps that needs to be filled so that this problem can be dealt with once and for all.
All right. Thank you so much, National Publicity Secretary of the Arewa Consultative Forum, Mr. Tukur Mohammed Baba. Thanks for your time and thanks for sharing your thoughts. Let's hope that the government would indeed take a strong stance and ensure that they can eradicate insecurity completely from the state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. It's been my pleasure to be here, and we hope peace will return to the plateau and to every part of Nigeria soonest.
Amen.
Thank you so much. All right, let's go straight to Joshua Imara. You remember earlier on we were joined by Ani Omoniyu from Lagos here concerning the protest that is supposed to kick off April 7th. But Ni joined us earlier on from Ikeja, and there were no sights, no scene, nothing happening, especially from the protesters. Life is ongoing as smoothly as possible, where economic issues are being discussed or debated by others. Other people are just, ensuring that they get to work and do what they have to do. But let's find out where Joshua simply is, where he'll be joining us from. He'll be also looking at what the protest looks like wherever he's from. All right, but let's go for a quick break. Stay with us. This is Breakfast Central.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central here on News Central Television. Earlier we told you that the global price for Brent crude oil has dropped to $65 and a barrel, and these has widespread implications for Nigeria's economy and our foreign exchange earnings. Now, join us this morning to discuss the implication of this and more is energy consultant Sheon Daniel, who joins us live from the United Kingdom. Good morning, Sheon, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, the big question here is that how are Trump's tariffs, he called it Liberation Day in America, how has it affected the price of crude oil? Why do we see a drop? And what implications does it have for Nigeria that is highly dependent on forex from the sale of crude oil?
Pretty much, I believe that the way to affect crude oil, everybody will be trying to maximize, and of course, America is a huge purchaser of crude oil globally and from different countries. So everybody will be believing that America, with the current way that Donald Trump is going, they would definitely have a very huge reserve, and it might be good to think that America will be beginning to refine their, and basically they already refined, but, explore more, produce more, and then, build more internal capacity for themselves, meaning that they may not be buying from the outside. So a lot of people will be trying to get out what they want to do. So we see that the people in the OPEC have, kind of like started reducing their own quotas just to, basically fix this price issue. But I mean, evidently everybody will be trying to push out as much as possible right now. The way it affects Nigeria, unfortunately, Nigeria is very dependent on crude oil revenue. Our budget was essentially, benchmarked to a price of $77 thereabout per barrel. And this has, this drop will definitely affect Nigeria significantly. Even though we've not even been meeting our quota, our current OPEC quota is about 1.4 million barrels, and Nigeria has barely been producing 1.4 million barrels. This further drop in the price of crude oil will definitely affect our prices, which means the only one thing we need to also be thinking seriously about diversification.
Sheon Daniel, is there a way that we could have foreseen the implications of what we're seeing now? And is there a way that we can better prepare ourselves? And I'm asking in terms of individuals, businesses, and the impact of this, this tariff. So what should we have done differently? And is there anything that we can do differently now?
Technically, of course, diversification has always been, most of the economies have been diversifying from, just one single income. Nigeria depends on crude oil for over 80-something% of its budget. So we have other revenue sources. We have a lot of resources in Nigeria that we know that can add to our, to our budgets. So what we could have always done is to see a future where we're not where we're not fully dependent on crude oil. We have other revenue streams. So in the event whereby there's a drop, whatever, there's a lot of things that can happen. It doesn't even have to be Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is probably the worst thing that's happening at the moment. But yeah, there are a lot of things that can happen, and diversifying your economy is the safest way to hedge against global economies. However, I personally think it's a retaliation if you look at it, because I don't know the maths, but evidently the chart that was put out is a response of the United States to other countries, and a lot of other countries have certain tariffs for American products coming into their country, and then the United States decided to do otherwise. So yeah, Trump is telling everybody that they are no longer going to be big brother to everybody. While everybody's protecting their own economies, yeah, they expect America to take in everything, and people, that kind of thing. So yeah, for Nigeria, we should diversify. As things like this are happening, we have to also look into now. Nigeria has a lot of revenue sources. We have a lot of money coming from several things. We have gold in the West. So many countries, there's agriculture. Our leaders need to start, and even as the people, we all need to start thinking inwardly and looking at all those resources that we have, that can generate income and develop our country. That's not crude oil.
All right, I'd like us to look at the aspect of the budget. When the budget was initially passed by Mr. President, it led to the singing of On Your Mandate in the House of Assembly. Later on, there was an upward review of the budget where the dollar was pegged at $75 per barrel. Now that this is happening, looking at it from an economic aspect and point of view and its impact on every single Nigerian, and most importantly, on the budget, how is this going to affect the economic, impact of the country?
So I want to believe that Nigeria is actually not in a very bad position, because as we are right now, I believe that we've sold crude oil. We have some forward contracts for crude oil, which means we're already taking money for some of the crude oil that we're producing right now. So if we look at it on the grand scale, on the wider time scale, the prices may still adjust, but we've taken some money, for some of the crude oil. So we're not exactly in a bad place. I want to believe that a lot of the money to finance the budget should already be available. So whatever is going on right now should not directly affect. But of course, the market should always react to the news and whatnot. But in the event whereby we have not done that, and we're constantly living hand to mouth, that is, we are selling on a daily basis, we are basing our expenditure on everyday sales, then we'll have a problem. What we can do is, if we then have storage capacity, we store crude oil for some time, and wait till the prices readjust before we then now sell off.
Now, Sean, Oliver and I had a bit of a slight debate this morning on if this will affect the price of the pump price of petrol. I bought a liter at 925 naira yesterday. What implications does it have? Because a lot of Nigerians would also be asking these questions. That since you said we've deregulated and the global price of oil determines the pump price, should we now start expecting to buy at 400 naira a liter?
So based on the calculations that they are giving us, yes, we expect that that's what's supposed to happen. But obviously, that's not what's going to happen, because then we'll have there'll be tighter constraints on the availability of funds for us locally. And let's not also forget that the naira is also taking a hit. So there are the different things. While the oil price is dropping, the naira is losing value.
But they said market forces. Why wouldn't they allow market forces to do their work?
Yeah, the market forces are at play. But then naira is also losing value. So if the naira was stable and fixed at a particular rate against the dollar, then yes, we would have seen an appreciation in the price of a depreciation in the price of petroleum products against the naira. But because the naira is losing value against the dollar, it makes it very difficult for that to happen.
Well, okay. So I think another concern would be what implications might these have for foreign investment? Do you think that this might also affect capital investments into Nigeria? Is that a concern that we should have?
So for capital investments, it's not straightforward, but it's always straightforward. And because we can see what Donald Trump is doing. Basically, it's about creating an enabling environment and asking people to come into your country to do business. Because with Nigeria, we already have the population, we have the workforce, we have the resources, we have the land, for different kinds of businesses to thrive. Basically, we are strategic in Africa, which we already know. So it's now for us to actually think about, inviting people to come in, tell them why they should come invest in Nigeria. Right now, as it is, because of all this, it shouldn't be. Nigeria also should be a hub, because I think when I looked at the tariffs, it was basically about 14%. So people from other countries would probably think, okay, well, if our own tariffs are higher, we could also go and establish our factories, our industries in Nigeria and export from Nigeria, and then that should definitely, reduce how much it's going to cost for them to do business. Because I don't think the tariffs are on the location of the business or the origin of the company. It's actually from the location of the source.
Okay. Anyway, we'll get to see what this would lead to, by the way. And as far as we're concerned, let's see what this would, bring to Nigerians. Hopefully, we'll be able to, shoulder the responsibilities that come with it. Talking about Nigeria's current government. I think that's all that we're going to take on this part. Thank you so much, Seun, for joining us. It's been a very fruitful conversation, and we look forward to see the impact of what Donald Trump, the President of the United States.
Positive impact.
Yeah, positive impact. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Seun.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. Have a great morning.
Thank you.
And enjoy the UK. Okay, number of conversations we've had this morning. We'll take you through them, but we'll go on a very quick break now. And when we come back, we have more. Stick with us.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Now, stepping away from the noise of Nigeria's challenges, News Central TV is thrilled to announce its official launch on Go TV Channel 23, bringing its signature vibrant energy to millions of viewers nationwide. Now, as the channel broadens its reach and focus remains clear, authentic voices, fearless reporting, and stories that truly reflect the continent is definitely one way to go. Now, from the electric Breakfast Central that you're watching right now, to the bold Jasiri and many more, News Central isn't just telling stories, it's revolutionizing narratives. And at the helm of this media powerhouse is the Managing Director and Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Kayode Akintemi, who indeed declares this launch a game-changer in African storytelling. And guess what? You just saw him. So he's right here with us, live in the studios here on Breakfast Central. Good to have you, and welcome.
Affectionately known as Mr. K.
Mr. K.
All right. Yes.
I think a good note to start would be to say congratulations on the official launch. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
So delighted.
So how's it been like so far, so good? We're part of News Central. We've been here, I think, for you, since you joined in, we've seen an immense growth in terms of ensuring that storytelling still stays at the forefront of every single thing we do. How has it in any way impacted, especially on the Nigerian storytelling, you could say, news and storytelling, basically?
Well, I guess I'll start from the very beginning. I remember that just about 16 months ago, I had two amazing individuals, including my dear Olive here, saying we're introducing our new MD. And that was the 1st of December, 2020. So we sat here and we had conversation about the vision and what we're trying to do, how we're going to try and change things on television, and what changes we want to see on television. And in 16 months, we have gone through a phase of complete change of concept of reporting. We have arrived at the point where we're able to say that News Central is arguably, without a doubt actually, the only television station in Nigeria, possibly one of two or just the only one in Africa that can claim to be authentically having its finger on the pulse of the nation and the continent. How do we do this? We make sure that on a daily basis, we're looking around for what's happening around the nation, we're reporting what the people are saying, we're reaching out to Nigerians wherever they are around the country, and we're getting them to engage with the media in a way that they've not done in the past. So they're talking about the things that worry them, the things that concern them, and in some cases, the things that excite and interest them. Amongst the young people on social media, we've engaged them. We're probably the only television station with the plan to ensure that we're all around the country having town hall meetings, discussing with people, tabling their troubles, and making sure that the government can no longer ignore the people.
I'm glad that you brought up the town hall, because that was going to be my next question. You said all around the country, and I'd like to correct you, it's beyond the country. We've had the town hall in America, in New York as well. So why was it very important to you to get, what lacuna did you see that made it very important to you that we have these town halls? And what would you say which would you say has been the most interesting, or would I say remarkable town hall we've had so far?
Oh my gosh, I think practically all the town halls have been different. One after, it's like having 4, 5, 6 children. Every single one of them is very special to you, and every single experience you have is completely different. When we went to Okwama, my heart broke because I saw people who have been devastated, traumatized, and it seemed at that time, and I will choose my words very carefully, it seemed at that time that the government of Nigeria, both in Delta State and the federal government of Nigeria, failed them. And those people were devastated, they were traumatized, people were killed until today. Today, so many months after, till today, there is no answer to those people as to what really happened. Why would the Nigerian military go into that environment and practically mow down everything? And then I go to Kano. We went to Kano and I saw people that some of them, when I spoke with them, I speak a little bit of Hausa, so I went to Federal Government College, Kano, and I was able to communicate in Hausa with some of them, and I saw people that were so broken, that had ambition. One of them, she's not a kid, but I've said that I've adopted her as my daughter. She's a young woman, but I've accepted her as my daughter. And I said I'll support her in any way possible. But this is a very brilliant, very enterprising young lady. She's on wheelchair. She struggles. She can't even afford wheelchair. She struggles to be able to move around, and very brilliant, very enterprising. She has a little space in Kano where she's now selling kose, she's selling akara and a few other things. I went there at night before we left Kano and ate with her in that shop. She was so happy. She introduced the new Central Crude to all the people in that side of Kano, in Kano City. And you see people that have just been going through so much. When you hear that Nigeria has happened to anybody, these are the example of the people that we have. Nigeria should be happening to people in such a way that they achieve the kind of thing that people describe as American dream. There should be a Nigerian dream. There should be a Nigerian dream. There should be a case of you do something and the whole world celebrates you, and everybody from Kenya, from South Africa, from Ethiopia, from Liberia, they're all saying, let Nigeria happen to you. Go to Lagos. Let Nigeria happen to you. Go to Abuja. Why can't we have something like that? National orientation should key into it and look for things that will make it such that Nigeria happens to them.
No, it's not news that New Central has achieved remarkable feats in 16 months since you took leadership of the station, and your awards, the quality of the broadcasting, and there's a testimony, a whole catalogue of what you've done. But doing this, I'm sure, came with quite a number of challenges. I mean, looking at the economic environment in Nigeria, the shocks of the foreign exchange unification, and also removal of fuel subsidy, doing business in such a volatile environment. Beyond the economics, what are some of the challenges you face in navigating this broadcasting industry in Nigeria? And challenge.
You guys know that phrase, I'm trying to remember who said it, it's the economy. And I will use the last word.
The S word.
It's the economy, the S word. It's the economy. Broadcasting in Nigeria, we have a number of other issues, but the key part of it is the economy. You look at this sharp, beautiful, handsome gentlemen dressed up in suits, and these are very expensive suits and expensive green outfits with some stuff on the side.
Yeah, very expensive suits. It costs a lot of money.
Yes, you look at all this, and you know that it's not cheap being on television. It's not a cheap thing. So the economy affects practically everything, from buying diesel to getting, looking for alternative to electricity, from electricity that seems to be dysfunctional. Today, it's a case of you have electricity and tomorrow you don't have it, and sometimes you have a case where they say, oh, it has collapsed again. Collapsed? How does power grid collapse? You go to Ghana, you don't hear power grid collapse. You go to South Africa, you don't hear. They generate more than enough electricity than they need for their country, and they're able to even distribute more. So these are the key things. But apart from the issue of the economy and the things that government need to do, we then have a second side of it, which is another thing that really affects me a lot, and which is one of the things that I have emphasized to every single one of you and everyone within New Central. Development, development, development. Education is the key. You see a state of situation in Katsina State and Kano State and a few other states where they're saying the children should stay home and fast. Fast for what? Education is practically everything. If you want to move a nation forward, education is one of the most pivotal, most important thing. So we have a dire need for better educated journalists in Nigeria. And that's across board. Whatever you do, if you have better education for everybody, then we're in a better place. So education and training and development for those who are in the practice of journalism, and of course the economy will help so that Olive can wear, a lot more nice outfit like this, knowing that it's very expensive.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that, MD. So in the course of the past 16 months, several wins. We've had the town halls, we've had the NC exclusives, a number of our videos have gone viral, and special shout out to as many who support us virtually. We want to thank you for constantly sharing and resharing our content, and we want to urge you not to stop because there's more where that came from.
And also acknowledge us, please.
Yes. Those cutting out our credit, please stop that bad behavior in 2025. But now, in addition to all the many positive achievements that you've been able to garner in the past 16 months, News Central is officially on GoTV. Why was that important? You know, why was it important that we get on GoTV? And what are the projections for, what should the viewers expect from News Central? Is it, oh, we're now on GoTV, everybody sit back and relax. But what should they look forward to?
Okay, now we're going the extra mile. With we were first on Star Times, and then we went on DSTV. Yeah, that cost us quite a small chunk of money. But going on GoTV has not been cheap at all. It's cost us more than quite a bit. So being on GoTV, the key reason we decided that no matter what it costs, we'll go on it is because we see a situation where there's a massive gap in terms of reaching out to the unreached. We know that television is not the be-all and end-all in terms of communication with Nigerians and with Africans across the continent. A lot of young people now focus more on that, their mobile phone. I was in the gym this morning, and there was a young lady I was having a chat with, and she said, "Oh, I think I've seen you on television." I said, "Yeah, it has to be News Central. Don't mention all the other TV stations I work. It has to be on News Central." And the lady, I said, "Oh, well, we're launching on GoTV today." Oh, she said, "Congratulations." I said, "Do you watch GoTV?" She said, "No." "Do you watch DSTV?" "No." "Do you watch Star Times?" "No." "Then when do you watch television?" "I see everything on my mobile phone." So the key thing for us is there is a larger number of audience that's waiting to be captured on GoTV. There's a massive number there. So our job is to make sure that we reach them. Those who have not been reached, it's our job to reach them. And in reaching them, what do they want? They want to know what's going on in the country. They want to know what they need to do to better themselves. Today, we have a special program today, which is on energy, and that program is going to unbundle all the problems. We always use the word unbundle. Unbundle means that we're looking at what are the problems. First, you have to identify the problems, and then you have to go on to look for the solution. So we have experts in the house that will find the solution. And then we have to push that agenda on social media to say that when we push this on social media, it's not to make the government look like it's not doing anything. It's to tell the government that, wakey, wakey, the answers are here. What exactly are you doing? Because if Nigerians are not speaking up and they're not showing that these are the problems, these are the solutions, why is the government not doing those things that will make the country better? Then it's up to the government. We have to push that agenda. So these are the things that we're doing. The last 16 months has been fantastic. It's been hard work. But the reward for that is more work, as they say. So we're pushing a little bit more every single day to say that on GoTV, as we go from here on, we'll look for the kind of things that excite and interest the people. In terms of entertainment, we're not doing enough. And the people in the entertainment industry, they're doing some amazing work. And I don't even want to begin to mention names that I should say, hey, shout out to. If I do that, if I do that, a lot of people will call me out and say, hey, why didn't you mention me? And I do have quite a few of them who are very good friends, younger brothers, younger sisters, colleagues that's been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years. So I know quite a bit of them. But they do some amazing work, and we need to do more promotion, do more engagement with them, because this is what young people, find very interesting.
Absolutely.
So we're doing as much as possible, but we want people to know that us being on GoTV is an opportunity for us to tell the Nigerian story, to tell the African story. That brings me to one thing I don't want to miss out. Just last week, one of the television stations in Ghana said they've been in their newsroom. News Central is one of the TV stations that they watch in Ghana. Nice. And they have sent me a message. Their MD sent a message, found my number, sent me a message and said, can we collaborate? Can we do things together? We want one of your reporters in Nigeria to cover Nigeria for us. And we promise you we will give you a reporter in Ghana that will cover Ghana for you. So whatever happens in Ghana, you can now say that you have a reporter in Ghana that covers. And this is one of the ideas that I've thought of for the last 15 years that I've worked in Nigeria since I came back to the country. And these are the things that I'm saying. There's got to be more collaboration across the continent. You cannot, on your own, if the likes of CNN couldn't do it, if the likes of SABC could try it and discover that it's an absolute failure, you cannot have enough money to sponsor and finance reporters in every country of the continent. It's impossible. Right. So collaboration is the answer.
When we're working inside.
Let me ask finally, I mean, for me, what has been your winning strategy? And most importantly, what's the leadership like here in News Central?
Please say it in very hushed tones. Competition with the listener.
or you want to say the other way, like,
off the mic.
Wait.
Off the mic, MD, off the mic, off the mic. Yes, Lakumi is there. Tell Lakumi to off the mic. But the truth of it is, I have said this in secret places, and I've said it in public places. If you care about the people that work for you, you will stir something in them that will make them want to work harder. I'm a lover of sports, and you watch football all the time. You hear when a new coach comes on board, and they will say, all of a sudden, the players are doing better. The same set of people that are at the bottom of the table, all of a sudden, they're rising and rising and rising and doing better. And they will say, yeah. And they will say that now it looks like they're playing for the coach. Playing for the coach, they're playing for themselves. But the coach is inspiring and motivating. So we need to inspire our journalists to do all the right things. Number two, they need to be paid well. We're looking at improving the quality of pay, the quantity of pay that people are being paid. We've got to pay our journalists well. When we look at the people that they are competing against in other parts of the world, we're talking of people receiving $100,000, $150,000 a month. What is stopping Nigerian journalists from earning that and giving them the kind of financial muscle that means that there is nobody in government in Nigeria that can look down on them and say it's just a common journalist? There's
It
no
also
common
means,
journalist.
sorry to interrupt you, that they don't go for press conferences and start fighting for small jobs.
Well, you're not being nice.
This central is obviously going to set the face. You know, I'm glad that you're thinking in that direction.
Yes. We are making sure that there is no such thing. We're not interested. Our journalists are not interested. In fact, it's a taboo. It's an abomination to find any of my reporters struggling for anything from anywhere. I pride myself in being able to say that. I've never gone to any governor. And I've been in the industry for the last 15 years as a media executive. And in that position, I have never been in the office of any governor in Nigeria saying, oh, Your Excellency, I came for land. Come and give me land. I've never begged for anything. No governor has ever given me land, given me a house, given me a car. I've never begged for anything. But I believe that when we pay our journalists well, they will never have to beg for anything. Right. They will never have to ask for any kind of favor. And even when you offer, they will say, we actually don't take this.
Thanks, but no thanks. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us to share the strides that we've achieved here on News Central TV, and also painting a picture of the future. And we want you, our audience, to be a part of it, because you cannot feature in the future that you cannot picture. Did you hear that, my motivational speech? You cannot feature in the future that you cannot picture. And MD has painted the picture, and we want you to feature in this future. MD, on a final note, as we wrap up this conversation, and I want you to think carefully about your answer, because there's only one correct answer. Which show is your favorite show on News Central Television?
On News Central?
I think I know the answer.
No.
Yes,
no. MD, you need to think correctly before you answer this question. Which show is your favorite show on News Central Television?
The answer will have to be that the show that I am on right now is going to be the best.
They have to monitor MD today. He's going on other shows.
We're going to watch every other show, MD, and if you counter this position, we will not be very happy with you. But thank you so much for joining us, and all the best. We know that on Easy Life, the head that wears the crown. All the best with all the difficult decisions that you have to make. But thank you for the great work.
It's such a joy to be here, but let me tell you, you guys, you're doing an amazing job. Every day I watch wherever I am in the country or outside the country, whether it's outside or within. Every time I watch, I see a growth, a development, and an improvement on a daily basis. So my appeal to you will be to do even more. You're already spending time in studying the subjects that you're doing, and you're doing much better than the competition from across the country. And the reason I'm saying that is because I know that people who watch, I fly every time, I travel around every time, and I meet people, and a lot of them will say to me that, oh, Kadi, we like what you guys are doing. Your guys are more intelligent than most of the other TV stations. Oh, your guys are more advanced in terms of their understanding of the subject matter. Or your guys are very fair and balanced. They don't seem to be one-sided in support of one party or the other. So I will appeal to you, please just stay on the straight and narrow, because that's what works for majority of the people. There are elements, there are people who want you to be on their side all the time. But when you do that, you alienate a number of others. And there's a possibility that you could be alienating majority of your audience. So it's better to stay balanced all the time. Thank you and well done, guys.
Thank you very much, MD. And that's our commitment to continue to put our best foot forward, to continue to do the research, do the work, and feel the pulse of the Nigerian people. When we say Nigerian people, we're talking of you. We'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, there's still more this morning on Breakfast Central. Stay with us.
Well, you asked for it.
And New Central has delivered.
You asked for it.
And New Central has delivered.
You asked for it.
And we delivered.
You asked for it.
Now you've got it.
Yes, New Central is live on GoTV Channel 23. Get the latest news and headlines from Nigeria and across the world. With GoTV, News Central gives you major stories and breaking news on politics, business, sports, and entertainment at your fingertips. Welcome to fearless reporting like no other. You asked for it, and now you've got it. News Central on GoTV Channel 23.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's go straight to the front pages of the papers. We do have public affairs analyst, respected Dr. John, who joins us this morning.
Whoa,
thank you for being here.
Good morning. Respected and honored.
Of course.
Both at home, a prophet in his home and abroad.
I'm telling you.
And he came with a special entourage. I want to give a shout out to without mentioning the entourage. Thank you very much for honoring your presence, or honoring us with the presence of this distinguished entourage.
Thank you for celebrating them.
Let's go to leadership straight up, a front page of the leadership newspaper, and let's talk about experts demand urgent reforms in health sector. Today, World Health Day, they're asking for so much. Health got 2.48 trillion naira, that's 5.1% allocation in 2025. Nigeria's 1,047 deaths per 100,000 live births, among highest globally, and so on. I'd like you to focus on the health sector. Let's quickly talk about that. Okay. Reforms, reforms, reforms. This current administration had said once they come in, they're going to do a lot of transformation. We saw President Tinubu yesterday sign up, sign a lot within the health sector. What's your take, first of all?
Okay, I think the health sector is challenged globally since COVID-19
we've had a bit of issues with health response globally. But again, the policy of government around having primary health center in all the political world is one decision that I think that if all the state government actually plug into, is going to yield massive result. That means that in every political world, you have somewhere that at least we give primary health assistance to the people. And you know, majority of our people still live in rural areas, so this will mean that they will have access to health. It's been the issue of access to good health care, and unfortunately, our seriousness as a nation is being questioned by the way our leaders often jet out to look for health care abroad. I think when we get to a point where we know that we will all die here, we will also pay more attention to our health system. Yeah.
Now let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper.
Yeah, but before we get to the Vanguard newspaper, we do have our correspondent, Ibalani Omoni, who's joining us this morning to give us updates on whether or not, it seems the protests have begun. Nii, where are you right now? What's the current situation with the protests?
Noise is quite much, but I can hear you asking me where we are right now. We are actually on our way. We moved from Ikeja on the bridge. I don't know where we're heading to right now, but of course I will be speaking directly with one of the Take It Back movement organizer, who you can see on a white t-shirt, Mr. Julius Abure, to give us more information as to what exactly they represent in this protest. What exactly is this protest for? I understand that it's different from the End Bad Governance protest you had earlier.
Yes, we are protesting generally against attempts by the government of Tinubu to repress free speech. As a matter of fact, it's not an attempt. It is what his government has been doing since he emerged. It's been repressing free speech, running an authoritarian government, and specifically the use of cybercrime acts to attack free speech, go after opposition voices, especially journalists, activists, including social media users. So what we are protesting now is for the immediate repeal of the Cybercrime Act 2024. We are insisting that the government should stop, especially the police, should stop using the Cybercrime Act to hand after opposition voices, to stop using the Cybercrime Act to attack the rights of Nigerians, so free speech. Because this is central to our demand and protest for good governance. Because there is a reason the government of Tinubu is going after free speech. The reason is simple. It is that today, over 120 million Nigerians are poorer. You understand? And Tinubu wants to push more below the poverty line. But despite doing that, it does not want us. It wants to do it unchallenged. And that is the reason it's going after free speech. So what we are saying is that we are not going to accept attempt to repress free speech. We are going to protest the anti-poor policies of government of Tinubu. Today, residents of Oworonshoki are faced with series of demolition.
You can hear the anger in his voice and what the calling is for. They're kicking against the Cybercrime Act and kicking against stifling of opposition or dissenting voices. Let's have Dr. Ojo react to the protest ongoing. You know, what your take is and if you think it will have any effect.
Okay, it's not about having effect. I think Nigeria is so blessed to have people who can stand up despite what the situation is. There are two things in every community that actually suppress people. When you talk about government, you also talk about the policy of government. When people run into hunger, the extent that they have not seen before, they find it very difficult to speak. But Nigeria is so lucky that we still have people who are coming out to say, we do not agree with government policy. And that is so instructive. And I say, he talked about 100 million people in poverty line. That's not totally correct. Since Tinubu got into power in 2023, 27 million Nigeria had further sunk below the poverty line. So I think that's necessary. But when you talk about 27 million people in a community of 250 million plus. That's over 10% of the people that are further sunk into under the poverty line. These are not encouraging figures, but we can find solace in the promise that the government has made that this is a necessary process that's going to procure for us a good product, and we are extremely hopeful that that will happen at the end of the day.
Wow, man, so many conversations to look at. I wish that we could look into more papers and see what the updates are. But just to mention that on the front page, very quickly, of the Vanguard, Cybercrime Act, which is the protest we just showed you, Cybercrime Act, emergency rule protest, anxiety as police and organizers differ. Umahi to Sanwo-Olu close Eko and Kata Bridges waterways. Ikpazu, Ugwuanyi, Shehu Sani, Omokri, others make ambassadors list. And no respite for textile industry as domestic markets shrink further. Let's go back again to talk about, I don't know if we can talk as quickly as we can about the people who have made the ambassadors list. Do you think that this is a very worthy list? We have Ikpazu, we have Ugwuanyi, we have Shehu Sani, Reno Omokri.
Ambassador for, I think,
Fani Coyote also.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
and Femi Pedro.
Okay, so not to talk about the achievement of personalities, because one person can actually stand in your front. Depending on what you think about that person, you can draw your perception from every corner. But let me tell you, one of the good things about Nigeria is the fact that the greatest export we have is our humans, is the brain of Nigerians. And at every point in time, when you continue to compare people that are out of power with people that are in power, or people that fraternize with government, you see that there's always a very big difference. We have brilliant Nigerians across the globe who you think their ideas should actually be transported into the running of government, but it never gets to happen. So when you list people, sometimes you continue to look at their character, their public character, what they have done before when nature honored them with power, which is very, very important. I don't judge people until I look backwards to see what they have done when nature honored them with power. But we continue to believe in Nigerians. We continue to believe that other people will continue to make giant strides in Nigeria. But as I've said earlier, this anxiety that is happening because police and organizers of rally differ is a product of the fact that police must also understand that these people are fighting for them. I can speak for them because I have many of my people in the police. They are not being properly taken care of. But as a result of whatever they sign, they continue to want to defend the government. But I think it's going to get to a point where all Nigerians will align. Like the singers have said, it means we are all responsible.
Absolutely.
Absolutely responsible.
I mean, in subsequent bulletins, subsequent shows today, we'll be bringing you live updates regarding the protest and how it's turned out. Dr. Mojan, thank you for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you. We here will be wrapping up and heading out of the studio as we count down to Jasiri in a few minutes. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Olive Emodi.
And my name is Benga.
And I'm Joe Hansen. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye-bye. You haven't quit this, your fake French.